Okay, the theme of this week's weather report is Golem or God, and by that I simply mean that we don't know yet if the AI creation that we're making is truly beneficial for humanity, or is it a not an evil entity in terms of like a Terminator? That would be an exaggeration, but it could be evil in terms of if it commandeers the lives of humans. If humans have to if there's vast negative impacts that are put on human beings to serve AI, that your job becomes negative because your tasks are now in the service of AI. You're paid less, you have less job security, and in essence, you are serving the AI more than the AI is benefiting you. Yeah, that would be a negative effect. And we don't know what we've built. We don't know what we've built. It, it could be beneficial for a very small number of people and extremely negative for a huge number of people. So we're waiting to see what happens. Is it definitely going to fail? No, it could be amazing. I mean, this is the gateway that could make the world as close to utopia as possible. So, but I think in 2023, 2024, 2025, there was just an automatic euphoria for AI. And starting in October, November, we start to have doubts as to maybe it was a bubble. Maybe the negatives are bigger than we think. Maybe it won't work as well as we think. And then, so that was going on starting in about November. And then, in addition to that, the fears just got worse. Once we hit 2026, the fears got worse. And then the geopolitical situation in 2026 also got worse. More instability, a clear progression to the multipolar world. And so the combination of the AI doubts and the rise of the multipolar world has definitely put the market in a state of indecision. So that doesn't mean that the market's definitely going to fall. It just means it's in a state of indecision. It's very sensitive right now. It's waiting to see what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and take a look at some charts and see what we think, what clues might we find in the charts this week. For a long time, many of you maybe have been checking out my weekly weather report that I put out, and this will be just a good chance to kind of go over it, maybe live, in person, you might say, just to get my vibes. Now, my vibes are pretty sucky, to be honest with you. I have no special talents here, but we're going to give it a go anyways. We'll see what happens. So for a while, S&P 500, which is probably one of the best barometers of the market vibe overall, has been in significant uptrend. Since 2025, it's been working on this arcing path here, and everybody's been shooting for, can we get over 7,000? It briefly touched above it, but since then, since 2026, with the fears of the AI bubble, it's been struggling. Back here, it was still euphoria. We were still in that innocent AI euphoria zone. And then by October, we started getting the fears of the AI bubble popping. And so since then, there's been some hesitation. Now, this is not a disaster yet. And if anything, this is no man's land. Maybe not down here, but this is kind of a no man's land in a bigger picture, and this is no man's land in a medium term picture. So we really don't want to go below. Going below here, this volume area at about like 6,800. Going below that would be dangerous, or you might consider going below the bottom of these little wicks down here. Either of those begs, a disastrous drop down to here. Now, even if it hits down here, you could still theoretically get some sort of big bounce. If I had to guess, though, to be honest, if it dropped down to 6,500 and bounced, it would most likely like get rejected from under here and then just continue on down. So holding here is still pretty critical, pretty critical. But we're still in a no man's land because until this goes below here, we can't be certain that's going to collapse. And we can't be certain that it's going to continue on for like another blast way up here until it actually breaks above. It's got to get above, maybe around here. Any this zone would be, look, right where we're at right now. That's why it feels pretty good today, right? Because people are aware that, all right, we've made the jump. We were down here. We almost lost it. We jumped up to here. We've jumped up to here, this level. So we just need to get above this 7,000 mark, and we might be off to the races. The only thing is, it is possible that that we might have to go a little bit above 7,000 too, because sometimes you can go above 7,000 and flirt around with like one or two candles and then just drop back down. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, we're in a no man's land. It's not bad. It's not great. It's not bad. We're close to the peak. But if we lose that peak and we drop down here and it arcs over and falls back below 6,500, oh, forget it. You're gonna have Armageddon. So we'll see. We're still watching. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. NASDAQ has already flipped bearish on the daily, right there. The NASDAQ's chart definitely looks weaker than the S&P 500. Again, it's not a disaster yet, but it has flipped bearish on the daily. Weekly, it's still good. So where would that need to go to really cause, chaos and problems? So probably something like this. Maybe down here. You know, this would be, you know, anything below this would be like just further confirmation of badness. This is already a bit of a problem, but it could be reversed. We see that the candle is above, right? Candle's above the EMA, and so as long as the price action stays above up here, then this EMA will flip back to being bullish again. And again, how high do we have to go to continue trigger more goodness? Well, we got to go above here. We got to go above about 26,158, something like that. I don't know. Dow Jones Industrial Average got like a lot of attention recently. I don't really see it as a good thing. I mean, if the Dow is doing well, that just means there's like a giant rotation from risk stocks into more stocks that are considered more safe. So when this happened and we went over 50,000 with the Dow, I didn't interpret that as good. You'll notice also with the Dow, it put in a gravestone doji candle or something similar to it. Normally those candles look like a upside down T, and this one still had a little spike tail hanging down here. But it was still a kind of a gravestone doji candle, which is generally bearish, and you can see within the next two candles, boom, it was in fact bearish. It could have been corrected if price had come back up here and then just gone sideways, even for like 3-4 days, 5 days, that would have canceled out that gravestone doji candle, but it didn't, and it's rolled over. And since this was resistance before and it never really formed support, and we've dropped back down, I wouldn't be surprised if this continues to stay, this line right here, this 49,600 approximately. I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to stay as resistance for the time being. Now, does it have to? No, it doesn't have to. We could have relatively good things happen in the market, and it could work its way up. But if we see that it's continuing and it can't get above, well, it's probably going to go back down. Although now that I think about it, if the Dow Jones is a reflection of almost like the risk off stocks and it starts going down and we see risk on stocks going up, then it doesn't matter. Because I didn't really like the concept of seeing the Dow Jones do well. Um, I saw that as a negative, not really a positive. Let's check out some stocks specifically. NVDIA, which um, has. I mean, let's be honest. This is the main This is the main driver of the AI trade. For a long time, I've been waiting for it to get into and above this pocket right here because it put in this massive, I mean, just massive head and shoulders pattern, and I was quite concerned around here that it was either going to just fall out and come down, or that it might even come down, bounce again, still get rejected, and then come down. So I was quite happy to see see that occur. That was good. I wanted to see us stay in this pocket. We got to get in this pocket to kill off this other shoulder, which we might be starting to do. So this bodes really well. We still can't. We're still not free and clear because it would have to also surpass the top of the head here, which is way up by like $212. So it still has to continue going up. We're not out of the woods yet. But certainly today's candle, if it can stay above here, will be super helpful. If this just rolls back over and comes down, the market's not going to like that. Market will freak out. But hopefully it stays above. Google, yeah, I don't know, man. I see some negatives here, to be honest with you. The, I see a there was a long parabolic trend, and boy, that sure looks like it's possibly trying to turn into a head and shoulders pattern. We've got here's your head and shoulders pattern with the shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. Boom, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. There's even a double top here. Also, you could make the claim. I bet if I took a measured move or a measure off that double top, it probably would match up with here. Um, so again, I'm on the lookout. If this thing comes up to around here, and then turns around, starts dropping down, and goes below this neckline area, that's bad. We'll say, I mean, specifically it's like 296, but if it goes, yeah, 300, 296, that's bad, man. That would be very bad for Google. So let's see. Let's see if it can. It's got to get up above. It's got to get up above 330. If it can get above, back up above here, we're good. We're potentially good to go again. Apple. Here's another head and shoulders pattern that happened up here. It had been in This is like a longer term trend that was down here, and then it shifted to this steeper, more aggressive price increasing trend right over here. Came into a head and shoulders pattern, dropped again, almost the exact measure move. For those of you new, I'm sure a lot of you know, but for those of you new, when the head and shoulders pattern happens, oftentimes you can measure from the head to the base or neckline of the pattern, and then just move it over here, put it to where put the line to where it drops out, and look, whoop, went right to the target. Now, I was thinking that it was probably price was going to come up to about here, about similar to the height of this other shoulder over here, come back down and drop. Instead, it had an explosive um, recovery, but it also was kind of like a fake recovery because a lot of times you'll get that you'll get like an explosive recovery, but it doesn't quite match the power that it had before. and I started turning around and fading, and I was like, man, this thing's gonna drop to 244 and like lose it, but it didn't. Turned it around. So we could make the argument that, like the S&P 500, we are in no man's land and we are just waiting to see. Is this slowly gonna come down here to this? It's about 256. Is it gonna come down here, sit around here, and decide whether it wants to go back up or fall down? The healthiest thing would be if it just kind of holds here and then eventually gets above 279. Then you'd want to see it get above 288, all-time high. That's the healthy stuff, staying up here. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Below 244, though, that's going to be a big problem. I mean, here's Microsoft. Microsoft, I don't know. I guess it's been having some image problems with the SaaS apocalypse or something like that. But to be honest, it's on a really long. Look at this. It's probably like a buy. It's probably like a safe entry buy, to be honest with you. I mean, it would have been nicer if this touch was around here, because you'd also be lined up with this pocket of volume. But for the most part, you could maybe think of doing a controlled entry there, and then just, if it drops below this parabolic line, you could sell it. But that actually seems pretty potentially good. I don't know. Seems like it's got potential to me, even though it is in a bearish trend on the daily. Oh, here we go, Tesla. Okay, so I know Musk is a unique guy. He's got a lot of great ideas. I was a big fan of his. I say was because I don't know. I just, as smart as he is, he also says like a lot of incredibly dumb stuff that like any other businessman with even like 5%, like any businessman with 5%, with only 5% of his skills would know. Like, don't say that. You're gonna destroy your customer base. He says it anyway. So um, it's just, I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled by his actions frequently. Anyways, the way I look at it is, if Tesla's fantastic, then it should get back above 500 with no problems. But it wasn't able to hold 500. It fell, and it tended to fall. Well, everything's been hesitating, right? So you could say that it didn't get above its all-time high because everything else is hesitating to get above its all-time high. All right, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. You know, same thing. Shoulder, head. Is it in the process of making a shoulder? It might be in the like, bad would be it breaks out. Well, the worst thing would be it kind of immediately falls back below this downward trend line, right? It just falls out below here. That would be bad. Another bad would be if it does break out, but can only get about to 435, you know, and then curves over and comes back under this this zone, this zone right here, you know, curves over, comes under this. I don't know. It would drop. It would drop to like 340. It just would. And like I said, if Tesla's fantastic and Tesla's the way of the future and the robots are going to be amazing, then it should have no problems going to 500. So I'm not saying it can't go to 500. I'm just saying right now, right now, I'm not seeing it. Palantir, I'm sure it's made a lot of people some decent money, but probably like the most techno feudalist stock that I can think of right now. It's not so good. Head and shoulders pattern here. Well, first off, let me back up. First off, you had a bit of a break of this trend, this diagonal trend line. Head and shoulders pattern, giving you a target down here at 105. So we did fall through. We're working our way down. It's trying to make a bounce. Um, we'll see. We'll see. It could easily come up, come to the 150, 160 zone. Bad would be seeing that roll over and then just continue to drop down again. I don't know. I have strong misgivings about this company, so I'd have no problem seeing the whole company implode. Broadcom. Broadcom, I'm seeing. So here, look, you can see that it flipped bearish on the daily. Back here, that was on January 5th. It's kind of following this general sloping, curving down trajectory. We'll see. It's trying to hold this zone though. It has some candles that it comes down, but it is trying to hold it. It's got to break out. It's got to break out, and then it's got to get above 346, 350. If it does that, then you'd probably see an explosive move back up to all-time high and try to break all-time high. But I want to see this. It has to escape this downward curve that it's in right now. And I suspect if it was to go, below 288, 280, like it's just gonna start drop. It's just gonna start dropping further. So it's got to make the breakout from here. Gold, everybody's favorite. Everybody's like, this was the secret path to easy success. I did not dabble in it. Should have. But this was clearly the winner move of like just easy win, do nothing. The fact that it's above 5,000, so that's fantastic for gold. When it had fallen down, it was below 5,000. Psychologically it was weak, but now that as long as it stays above 5,000, it's psychologically strong. If it falls, you might be able to pick some up in here. What is this like? This is like 4,600 range. There's also this really long, ongoing parabolic line of support. So if this ever comes back over and touches the parabola, you're probably good. And you might get lucky. It might break through that and hook up in this reaccumulation zone, which I have at like 4,400 to 4,000. I don't see. I don't think we'd be so lucky as to like have it drop back down to the 3,000 level. This seems too low. Silver, I see this as a little bit more of a meme metal. I know there's people who make the argument that it has industrial meaning and industrial uses and will be needed more and more in the future, and that is probably true, but I don't think that explains this. This is just meme. This is just meme mania going on. This was called the ball of crypto. Ball of crypto money got frustrated last year and just went to the precious metals. So I think if gold can stay, because I consider this more of a meme metal, that means that if gold can stay over 5,000, then silver can stay strong. It's hitting resistance here at 90, but I think psychologically it really wants to be above 100. I don't know why that's it. I think it wants to be above 100 to be strong. If I see it up here, we're good to go. Could maybe start off on a new trend, but if it just stays under 100, that probably wouldn't be good. That would probably allow it to slowly come back down. This 55 to 50 zone, you might even if something really bad happens in the market, you might be able to pick it up again at 48. And maybe your buys at 48 are what years later um, does give you profits when there's like a supply squeeze and there's not enough silver, and the industrial uses are so powerful that they're jacking up the prices massively. But for right now, this just felt like such a meme, uh, almost like a meme coin, just in physical metal form. Oil's been getting a lot of hype. It's been getting a lot of hype lately. I was thinking that this might form a double top, and maybe even form a double top in a way that breaks this recent parabola. But there's a lot of chop here. I'm not so sure this is a double top anymore. We'll see. I kind of like my double tops more clear. This might just be morphing into a different pattern. But in any case, at some point, it's got to get above here. It's got to get above 153 and 154, and then it's got to get above 156. And if it comes down and drops under 145, eh, that would probably not be a good move. I'm not convinced with oil. I get it in the concept of, in the world of AI, you need to drift towards physical things. I understand that part. I also understand the part of um, well, I don't know. I just, there's a lot of oil out in the world. There's a lot of oil out in the world. There's a huge supply of it, and it doesn't seem really like the fuel of the future. But we'll see. Okay, everybody's favorite crypto. I'm quite shocked. I mean, Benjamin Cohen was talking about, he was suggesting maybe getting down to like 60s by like May, and boy, we just rocketed down in February. Quite shocking. Um, we'll see. I have mixed opinions. I really don't even I don't even know whether this pattern right here is bullish or bearish. I do feel that there's a possibility that if the economy stays stable, this could be the low. This could already be the low. But if we just have another year of like chaos, then there's no reason to think why this can't go lower. I mean, it easily could. I was expecting a bigger bounce up to the resistance up over here. We didn't get it. So now we've got this volume here at 84. So even if this thing bounces, there's a good chance that it just kind of comes up, hits this pocket of volume, and then curves back over. It's certainly possible. Something like this, right? This is the theory. Like here's Solana. Yeah, there's a possibility that it does something like that, but then flips over and drops back down. Pure conjecture here. I'm imagining potential Solana buys. If this is not the bottom, and we have a bottom like in the summer, or fall, then we're getting like a Solana. You could easily have a Solana dip down in this zone, in my opinion. That's in like the four. We're talking about 50s, 60s, 40 range, something like that. I'd show you SBS 6900, but it doesn't have a chart, so we'll skip that one for now. All right, I hope that was at least somewhat informative. Maybe an improvement over my static stuff. All right, talk to you guys later.